You've talked about in forums, and we'll start right out with one that was a big one this week at Belmont University, with you and some of the other candidates talking about education in our state. First off, I know all of you discuss the fact that you want to see teacher pay increased, and I'm sure teachers will be very happy about that as well. How do we go about doing that and not overly stressing the state budget?
Well, I appreciate that question. And first, I'd just like to say how much I'm proud to be on Union's campus today.
Glad
Beautiful
to have you.
campus, and I'm happy to be here. So thank you for having me.
You bet.
Education is a critical role of state government. It's one of the few constitutionally required duties that we perform at the state level. And we have had two back-to-back 4% salary increases for our teachers. So we are making great grounds. As I said in the debate, when you want to know someone's values, look at their budget. And certainly in the state of Tennessee, we value education because it is the second largest block of money that we spend at the state level is for education. And so we will continue to, as we have the fiscal capacity to increase our teachers' salaries to attract the best and the brightest to the academic world.
Let's also talk about, we have had over recent years a lot of discussion, and certainly with what we've seen with the Tennessee Promise that has afforded young people an opportunity to go for two-year degrees, or at least their first 2 years of college. And then also what we have seen to give people vocational training in the same fashion. We have somewhat walked a fine line between people who push the idea for many years that everybody needs to go to college. And now we're walking the path over, maybe that's not really the case. Where do you come down on that?
Well, I would agree. I think it's somewhat of a myth that everyone needs a four-year degree. Certainly for a lot of students, that's a wise course of action, but not for everyone. And there are plenty of opportunities in the trades and in manufacturing to make a very good living and have a very productive, happy life. So we want to encourage people to find what's best for them. We are now in both 7th grade and 10th grade offering, not requiring, but offering aptitude tests where you might see yourself in the future. And we're encouraging more young people to explore receiving dual enrollments in high school so that they can graduate with high school with also a certificate from their local tech school, making them employable right upon graduation from high school.
This has been one of the challenges I know that a lot of people have said in many communities, many Chamber of Commerce organizations, workforce directors have said that we have a lack of trained workforce to be able to go there. How much do you believe the new emphases that we have had in our state on vocational training is going to help that, particularly in what is still largely a rural area of West Tennessee?
I think it's going to be a game changer. I do. You know, when you go out and try to recruit, which I've been a part of these trips to bring industry into the state of Tennessee, of course they like the fact that we're a low tax state, but secondly, right after that, they're going to ask about qualified workforce. And so it's critical. But you know, I will tell you, we've made great strides as a state in improving our K through 12 education. That's very important. People do not want to hire someone that cannot basic reading and writing and basic math. And to move, I've been very, very proud. I've served on the Education Committee the whole time I've been in the General Assembly, and to see the progress we've made over these last 7 years as I've been Speaker, to move from being the bottom half in most every type of performance to now being the fastest improving state in the nation in both math and science. I think having a better skilled child coming into our higher education is critical.
Testing is another subject that came up in the forum at Belmont as well. We have a dean of education here, and he said, don't read too much into what I'm saying, but he has said we are testing our children too much. And there's a specific thing that he meant by that. How do you feel about that?
I would agree. I would agree. Now, let me preface my remarks by saying I believe in the accountability system. I think that is what's made the difference in our improvement in our testing. It's very critical. But what I have found in my study is what's happened is the state requires really only 3 tests, but what happens is local districts want to do well on those tests, so they perform what they call benchmark testing throughout the school year. And so consistently I've heard from teachers, we're all right with accountability, we believe in it, and it's proving that we're doing our job, just don't make us test too much because it takes away from valuable classroom learning time. So we are currently have a task force that's looking into that, and I think you'll see a reduction in the number of tests that are required.
Got about 45 seconds in this segment. One other thing on testing is that there have been so many concerns, and I know here at our local school board in Jackson and Madison County, about the problems that have existed with the end of the year achievement test. How close are we to solving that problem?
Well, the Commissioner of Education has assured me just this week that we are very close. We're there. And no doubt about it, it was messed up. It was laid out wrong, and they'll be the first to admit that, but it was a company that we had contracted with. So there's no excuse for it. They've acknowledged it. We've received our money back from them, so I think you'll see it improved in going forward.
Thank you, and we will continue in just a moment.
Okay.
Alex?
When we return, Steve will explore issues of health, including the state's opioid drug crisis and the proposals for legalizing medical marijuana. That's all ahead as we continue with the first of our gubernatorial candidates on Jackson 24/7.
Every child follows a path in life. For many, that path will lead them to a door that gives them a place to grow, to learn, to belong, a place to forge their future. Because while many doors open, these doors transform. They did for us. Support your local Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures start here.
On a lawn mowing service, propane works for you. Propane can go where you go. Tanks easily changed, no spillage, quick transition, clean burn, increased energy efficiency. Propane, the affordable, clean alternative fuel wherever you mow. Find out more about JA's ProGas. Call 422-7500. Propane, the alternative fuel that makes sense. Part of JEA today.
United. United in academic excellence and research. United in love for Christ and biblical truth. United in service and caring for people. United for you. At Union University, no matter what you study, you are part of a close-knit community dedicated to your success. Union University. United in spirit. Grounded in truth.
I don't know what our family would do without TiVo. It doesn't matter if a show is live, on demand, or even streaming from Netflix. No more juggling remotes, switching inputs, or guessing who has the show or movie we want to watch, because it's all on one box. TiVo has great apps like Plex, which lets us stream home videos and music from our computers and phones. And with kid-friendly apps like Toon Goggles, I feel safe giving the kids a little TV freedom. And I can enjoy mine too.
We continue with the first of our interviews with candidates for governor in Tennessee. In this segment, we'll ask House Speaker Beth Harwell about health issues facing state government. Let's go back now to Jackson 24/7 News Director Steve Beverly.
Well, as Alex said, we are going to be talking about health care in this segment. We have had huge concerns across the state, particularly with rural hospitals. We had a forum here in Jackson recently, which was the day after the Taylor County Commission voted to close its hospital. A lot of people saw this coming when the health care changes came at the federal level. Where are we in health care in this state from that standpoint, and also about Medicaid?
Well, I think that we were seeing that the market is just now beginning to stabilize, premiums especially since the full implementation of the Affordable Care Act. And now we have another change in administration in Washington, D.C., which is creating more uncertainty. I don't know exactly what Congress is going to do regarding health care, but I do know personally I would love to see them pass it to the states in block grants. I think if they did, we would be able to manage an expansion much better than the federal government. Certainly, we've done a good job of keeping TennCare within about 38% of our total budget, which is, it's important. What a lot of folks need to realize is that healthcare cost is going up 7% every year. That's higher than inflation. So when you run a state like the state of Tennessee, where we balance our budget every year, when your healthcare costs go up 7%, you can either raise taxes 7% every year, or you can reduce services 7%, other services like K through 12 education 7%. But somehow it's got to balance out, and that's the dilemma that we face. I certainly am sympathetic to these rural hospitals that have had to close. This has primarily been a business decision. Overall, I think we have to reevaluate how we provide health care in our nation as a whole. Many of our rural communities need emergency room ability, and they need clinics. They need walk-in clinics. But actual surgeries and things like that are now taking place more in the urban areas like Nashville and Memphis and Jackson. So going forward, it's going to be a struggle for the nation as a whole until we can contain and keep costs down.
Let's go into one thing that you just mentioned there, because at the forum that we had here a couple of weeks ago, discussion was made about providing more emergency room care in a lot of these communities where it may be a life or death situation and someone would have an extraordinary difficulty even coming 15 to 20 miles, let's say, to Jackson General. How do we do that and financially be able to maintain a sense of cost effectiveness?
I think we need to reach out to the private sector. Many of the hospitals are for profit, and they're doing fine. And even I think Vanderbilt University Hospital has a wonderful model that they're putting in place in the Middle Tennessee area. I think you're going to see that duplicated. So they bring people into the hospital for the most acute care, but they have walk-in retail clinics, they call them, all throughout shopping centers throughout the Middle Tennessee area. And I think that's going to be the way we're going to see cost containment going forward. And then I also think there needs to be transparency in the cost of health care. I can say this as a personal example. My husband owns a small company. He started a health savings account for his employees. And he came home one night and he said, Beth, it's amazing. I walked down the hallway and I heard a young man on the phone saying, how much do you charge for delivering a baby? He said, Beth, we've had 3 children and never asked that question. But that young man had skin in the game because he had his health savings account and he was going to shop for the service. You're going to see when people can shop for their services, prices coming down.
Let's go to a subject that certainly has been in the news in recent days, and that's the governor's proposal this past week, $30 million to deal with the opioid drug crisis in this state. First off, from your perspective, how much of a crisis is it? And second off, is this enough to be able to deal with this problem adequately?
Well, I will say that as I've traveled this lovely state for many years now, this isn't my first time. I traveled the state as the party chairman. I've traveled the state as Speaker of House many times. And it is a real problem from East Tennessee to West Tennessee, even more so in Upper East Tennessee than any other parts of the state. So it is a real crisis that we do need to address. I set up a task force that looked at a lot of recommendations. We gave those recommendations to the governor. He's going to keep and put them as a part of his State of the State on Monday evening. Well, we could always pour more money at this problem, but I think what he's using the money for is wise use. What we have found as we've traveled the state is the programs that are most successful in turning people's lives around have a medical component, but they also are faith-based as well. So I think with that money, we can certainly partner with some of our private providers to increase services to the public that desperately needs them.
How much do you feel that the public in general really, because I've heard people talk about we still need to educate our people as to what this actually is, because people are saying in some instances, well, what is this? It came up all of a sudden. Well, it really didn't. But how are we doing as far as educating the average person in this state about how serious this crisis is?
Well, that will be a part of the prong of the approach, prevention and educating people. We're going to have curriculum in our high schools to encourage young people to take this very seriously. I think we all have a little guilt on our shoulders. I mean, people go to their doctor and they want a quick fix for pain. They don't want any pain. Well, the reality is pain does exist, right? I think doctors wanted to make patients happy, so they overprescribed these opioids. And to be honest with you, I think the pharmaceutical industry misled us a little bit on just how addictive these products are. I've actually seen the scans of brains addicted to opioids. They cannot rehabilitate themselves. So it's not an issue of free will. They actually get addicted to these products. And so it's going to be, it's been slow in coming, but it's also going to be slow in recovery from all of this. It's going to be, we're going to do everything we can at the state level, and largely part of it is education. And so when you have a pain, make sure that you understand when you take an opioid what you're doing.
Got about 45 seconds left, and we may need to carry this over into the next segment. If we do, that's fine. But medical marijuana, a new proposal has come before the floor of the legislature in this very week. Where do you stand on it right now? I know you've had some personal stories to tell about this subject with a family member, but where do you stand on this specifically? And then when we come back, we'll have a follow-up question on that.
Sure. I will probably be supportive of the work of the task force on medical marijuana. I do think there's some legitimate uses for marijuana in the medical community. Keep in mind, this will be a very, very restrictive piece of legislation. It would be through doctors' discretion completely. You would have to have a doctor's reasoning for using the product. We're very specific on what can be covered with valid results that this does, in fact, help these folks. So, and people have a misconception that we're talking about smoking joints. There will be no smoking of the product. It will be all oil-based product.
We'll be back and continue with more right after this. Alex?
Thanks, Steve. When we return, we'll focus on the economy in Tennessee, including the economic interest of West Tennessee. That's in our final segment of our visit with House Speaker Beth Harwell. Stay with us.
I grew up in Jackson. I went to high school here. As part of the Jackson 24/7 News team, I see the story behind every story we report, whether it's about decisions to make our school system better, how we built the economy of Jackson and Madison County, or the many challenges our law enforcement officers face every day. Jackson 24/7 is about the people of our city and county, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
Terry Jelks, part of the team you trust every day on TV6.
With E+ broadband and Watch TV Everywhere, you can now take your TV on the go. Just visit WatchTVEverywhere.com to sign up. Then you're all set to catch your favorite shows, movies, and sports, wherever and whenever you want, on any internet-connected device. Choose from our growing selection of networks from your cable package at no extra charge. Visit WatchTVEverywhere.com to learn more. It's easy to sign up for E+ broadband's TV Everywhere.
United. United in academic excellence and research. United in love for Christ and biblical truth. United in service and caring for people. United for you. At Union University, no matter what you study, you are part of a close-knit community dedicated to your success. Union University. United in spirit. Grounded in truth.
Propane, 95% generated in the U.S., is a gas that works anywhere. Central tanks for fleets, vehicles. Portable tanks for forklifts, lawnmowers. The fuel you can take anywhere. Even backup generation runs off propane. Household appliances, outdoor features. To find out more about affordable, clean, versatile propane, contact JEA's ProGas, 422-7500. The alternative fuel that makes sense. Propane, part of JEA today.
And we continue with the first of our interviews with candidates in the race for Tennessee governor. In this segment, we'll focus on the economic interest in Tennessee, including a major industrial project for West Tennessee. Let's go back now to Jackson 24/7 News Director Steve Beverly and House Speaker Beth Harwell.
We're going to continue with Speaker Harwell, and before we get into the subject of the economy, one more question on medical marijuana. We have on our regular show, Jackson 24/7 College News Conference, had police officers in here who have said that their biggest concern about legalizing medical marijuana is that then the next thing that comes down the pike in many states that have done this, now you start having pressure to legalize recreational marijuana. How do we keep the reins on that? Because there's some people who would love to see that and say, tax it and take the pressure off of the law enforcement officers.
I would not favor that, and I have visited states where they have gone to recreational marijuana use, and I do not favor it and do not think it's wise for the state as a whole. And it is counterproductive. It's not helping people's health, it's hurting it.
Let's move on to the economy, and I'm going to start right with a subject that certainly is one that is dear to the hearts of people in West Tennessee, and that is the Memphis megasite. We've heard many people talk about for now years that this is a place that was going to bring just multitudes of new jobs. It hasn't happened. We've heard cost figures that it's in the tens of millions yet before it will be ready. What has gone wrong there, and how do we get this to a point from the state? Because we had a county commissioner in here not long ago who said, if the state doesn't help, we're not going to see anything happen from that. How do we get past what seems to be just an eternal stalemate on the megasite?
Well, I personally believe that the megasite was mismanaged. at the economic community development level. It was not prioritized the way it should have been. We have, as you know, put $140 million into the project to date. Now we have a new commissioner, and he has prioritized this. The governor has told him to. He's been to the site. He has looked for ways to indeed make it shovel-ready, which the real question there is the permitting process. And I feel very confident that he has come up with a solution that will work for the mega site. I will be supportive of it. They have requested additional money. The governor's going to fund half of the request this budget year, but it will fall on the next governor to complete it, and I'm committed to complete it. We've invested too much to let go now. And I know it seems like a long time, especially for those here in West Tennessee that want something, and I definitely would prioritize it. But keep in mind, the mega site that we had available in Chattanooga, where Volkswagen finally located, it was 17 years. It was 17 years in the making. So that's not to excuse it. We need to full force ahead and get this complete for West Tennessee. It could be a real game changer for rural West.
Well, talking about shovels and other forms of equipment that have been turning, we've certainly seen that with highway development
Right.
here, because finally we're seeing some things in Jackson proper, trying to get rid of the quagmire coming out of the old country store in Casey Jones Village, and improvements also as well to our area of I-40. Particularly right now with the increase in the gas tax that we did have last year and incremental increases that we're going to have over the next couple of years, where do you see that going forward as far as seeing finally some more improvements as far as highways in our state?
I think it's going to be very, very productive for our state. We needed to do something. We had not raised the gas tax in 29 years. I don't know about you, but there's not much I can buy for the same price I did 29 years ago, right? And I believe in a very limited government, but one of the limited roles of government is to provide infrastructure. No one's going to do it for us in the private sector. So I thought it was a smart move. We've invested across the state, and as you see, you can see what it's doing already for West Tennessee here in Jackson. So I think it was a positive move for our state. That, along with the broadband piece of legislation that the General Assembly passed, is really helping our economic development in our state.
Yeah, in particular, because we're a beneficiary of having the gig here in Jackson, and certainly what Jackson Energy Authority has been ahead of the game in seeing that broadband develops here in this community. The question is, do we have any kind of timetable in this state that the rural areas are finally going to have access to broadband technology? Because that has been a really difficult. I used to live in a portion of rural Madison County that still today does not have broadband access. How soon could we possibly realistically see that happen?
Well, we passed the legislation in the State House last year, and I think it behooves the next governor of the state to evaluate how well these private companies are taking the grant money and actually getting into the hard-to-serve areas. It is harder to serve certain areas. The economic advantages that are there. The houses are far apart. I understand why some of these, but we've made it possible now that electric co-ops, if the private companies don't want to do it, electric co-ops can come in and provide the service. So I do think within the next year we're going to see a real difference in the services.
Let's talk we've got about 2 minutes left.
Okay.
Let's talk about what you see as the real challenges and what priorities you would have for the economy of this state.
Well, I think above anything else, I'm very proud of the fiscal management of our state, of which I've been a part of for the last 7 years. I mean, we have reduced unnecessary taxes. We've eliminated them. We've eliminated the inheritance tax. We've eliminated the gift tax. We've reduced our sales tax on food. We're doing the right thing by keeping taxes low. We're the third lowest tax state in the nation. We're the lowest in the Southeast. And I want to tell you, that is a great recruitment tool. You're going to see a lot of folks from New York, et cetera, moving to the South to open their companies and because they want to live in a low tax state, especially with the new federal tax that was just passed. There's really no reason why anyone would want to live in a high tax, state taxed state right now. So I feel very good. I think it's a real challenge for us to maintain that. It's a challenge every year. We take it for granted as Tennesseans, but we shouldn't. The fact that we balance our budget every year, that's the best gift we give to taxpayers. And the best gift that we give to your children and your grandchildren is that we're the lowest debt state in the nation. So I'm very proud of the economic conditions of our state, and it will behoove the next governor to make sure that that fiscal responsibility stays in place.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground, and Alex, we have one more brief segment, so I'll toss it back to you.
When we return, we give the last word to Speaker Harwell. We'll be back to wrap up this edition of Jackson 24/7 right after these messages.
This changes everything. TiVo is here. Search and control your cable channels and streaming video apps with one remote. Record 6 shows at once and build a library of favorites with one pass recording. Then watch on any TV in your home or browse and view on Wi-Fi devices with the free View It app. Call E+ Broadband to add TiVo and ask about our new packages.
I've lived in Jackson for nearly 13 years. As part of the Jackson 24/7 news team, I've learned a lot about how this community works. I've seen how the leaders of the city and the county deal with issues, even when it brings them into conflict. And I enjoy the opportunity to tell the stories that help people at home make better decisions. I love Jackson, and I love being a part of the Jackson 24/7 team.
Alex Northcutt, part of the team you trust, every day on E+ TV6.
I don't know what our family would do without TiVo. It doesn't matter if a show is live, on demand, or even streaming from Netflix. No more juggling remotes, switching inputs, or guessing who has the show or movie we want to watch because it's all on one box. TiVo has great apps like Plex, which lets us stream home videos and music from our computers and phones. And with kid-friendly apps like Toon Goggles, I feel safe giving the kids a little TV freedom. And I can enjoy mine too.
United. United in academic excellence and research. United in love for Christ and biblical truth. United in service and caring for people. United for you. At Union University, no matter what you study, you are part of a close-knit community dedicated to your success. Union University. United in spirit, grounded in truth.
As is our policy on Jackson 24/7 College News Conference, we give 1 minute to our newsmaker for the last word. Let's hear the final comments from House Speaker Beth Harwell, a Republican candidate for governor.
Well, thank you. I so enjoyed being here in Union University's campus today and love to be in West Tennessee. We have so many great things going for us in this state. I've been honored to be the Speaker of the State House during, I believe, our 7 most successful and boldest years as a state. We've kept our taxes low. We've balanced our budget. We're the fastest improving state in the nation when it regards to education. We have a lot of things going our way, but there is more to do. There is more to do, and that's why I'm running for governor of the state of Tennessee, and I would appreciate your consideration.
Thank you very much for being with us. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Alex?
Thank you, Steve. And a reminder that all of the gubernatorial candidates are being issued an open invitation for the same half-hour appearance on Jackson 24/7. Well, it's all of our time, and of course we thank you for yours. I'm Alex Northcutt. Join us again next week every day at noon and 4.